Alright guys, the title I think I'm going to make of this video is pros and cons I think of my BDS 2-inch leveling kit, my 2017 F250. But let me start out this video with my steering stabilizer. So I went ahead and bought this beforehand, not beforehand, but anyway, right after I got my leveling kit done. I was having a lot of just bump steer like crazy, and I think I might have jumped the gun on it only because I was having bump steer from stock, and I still do have a lot of bump steer for some reason on my freeways here in SoCal. But anyway, I think what happened was my steering casters right there. I'm sorry, my alignment casters or alignment cams. Sorry, I'm getting all over the place here with my words, but anyway, those weren't installed. My kit was installed, and I will make a separate video completely bashing my off-road shop, and I'll give you all the ins and outs on why you should not go there if you live in SoCal. So anyway, the purpose of this video is to just... I actually made a video of installing this stabilizer just because it's a lot of people with not a lot of mechanical know-how and just how to get things done. And even though for the most people that might be watching this video, it's a pretty straightforward deal. There's two freaking bolts pretty much, and you know, 3 nuts in this case for this steering stabilizer compared to the stock. But you never know. Some people just kind of get, you know, they just overthink things, and that's fine. You know, there's a lot of smart people out there, but sometimes they just overthink it, and it's totally fine. So people are visual. A lot of people are visual learners. I'm one of those. That's the beauty of all these YouTube videos. So anyway, nothing really wrong with my kit. You can see that's where the puck is on the bottom, which I kind of like, out of sight, out of mind. Only problem now is I'm getting this squeaking noise. And BDS, I call them because, again, I will rant about my off-road shop another time. But anyway, I called BDS, and they told me to lube up. They said spray anything in there, lithium or whatever. Probably not anything that's like silicone or something like that, because it could break down the bushing in there. But anyway, they said spray that and see if anything fixes that squeak. And to tell you the truth, that was a week ago, and I haven't got to it yet. So I will get to that soon, and I will share my results, because the squeaking is just freaking annoying. I mean, I can hear it on low speed stuff as the suspension articulates coming out of my driveway or going in and out of driveway. You can hear it kind of and then on on short bumps, small bumps, you can hear it high pitched squeaks. So obviously the faster it goes, the higher pitch it's going to be. And I can't tell if it's metal on metal or if it's rubber on metal. It makes different noises, so I couldn't tell you what it is. But one thing, and maybe someone that knows about the steering components on these things can tell me if this is normal. So let me try to do this with one hand, because it is a little difficult to kind of turn this thing. But my hand's right here on this lower steering rod, bar, whatever you want to call it, and I'm just going to twist it like this. Can you hear that? And it does it on both sides. So you can see it moving right there. I'm moving too, but you can kind of see this thing moving. And also this thing, this upper steering link or rod, whatever you want to call it, if I twist my steering stabilizer, you can see it. It has a pretty good amount of play. Jesus Christ. So you can see that. See it moving down there? And it clunks too. So anyway, I don't know if that's normal. Obviously this has to move, but I don't know the distance it's actually supposed to move, and if it's supposed to be that loose. And I don't know if it was Ford just skimping hardcore on these ball joints, but I'm not digging it, because that vibration, I mean, if it's easy for me to turn with my hand and make that noise, you can imagine what I'm feeling down the road in my steering wheel and my pedals. It is so freaking annoying. I mean, it is like rattling all the time, and makes it sound like there's something broken. makes it feel and sound like there's something broken. If I hit a good enough, there's a lot of potholes here in SoCal and everything, and if I hit a lot of those, I mean, it just vibrates throughout the truck. You can hear it, you can feel it, and one thing I have noticed is when I'm driving, let's just say I'm holding the steering wheel like this, and let's say this is the steering wheel, I'm holding like this, perfectly straight, right? But if you look at the front end of my truck, it's kind of doing this. And I could see the hood of my truck doing that. And I'm constantly fighting to keep this thing center. It is so annoying. And supposedly my off-road shop says, after they finally installed my cams, that everything is true. It's perfectly straight, yada yada. Okay, get it, whatever. I'm just wondering if I should take it to a real alignment shop, someone that knows about these things, that can do a little bit of offset from spec to accommodate for these roads. But anyway, it is. I tell you what, the ride is definitely not enjoyable. I'm almost hating driving this truck because I'm constantly fighting to keep this thing centered. And I don't know if it's Ford's part by chinsing on these things, and if these are already trash, all of my ball joints, or what. But this thing is always tracking like it's just doing this on down the road, and I don't feel like that's normal. And another thing, so back to the leveling kit. These shocks are great. These shocks soak up everything you throw at them. I mean, you can hit a speed bump, doing 40 miles an hour, whatever, and it doesn't really feel like much. I really like how they tuned these shocks for the most part to take the heavy loads, the heavy bumps, the heavy dips. That's what Foxes are for, They're more for, I think, a racing application, but I think they tune these for the street queens like my truck. Now, the only problem I'm having with these shocks is I think on the ride height portion of them, or the lower end of the valving, if you want to call it, or whatever, the soft stuff, if you're driving on the freeway, let's just say my hand's my truck, instead of hitting dips and kind of doing like this, and so you dip down like that, and your truck should ride like that. Well, when I hit a dip, it goes like this, and it'll rock. And so coming up like this, it seems like it almost like one side dampens, but the other side doesn't. So when it comes down, it'll do this and rock. And I tell you what, that side-to-side motion, that rolling action, that's another thing that makes this truck just not fun to drive. So with a combination of Ford skimping, or maybe just bad ball joints, or I don't know what it is, and BDS's kit. Now, I do have to say that I was having those steering issues before I bought this kit. So I can't really blame it on the kit for my steering issues. What I can blame on the kit is the way it rides. So it does this kind of rolling, rocking action like that. And it's not horribly bad, but it's something that you just really have to kind of get used to. And I think they just did a little too soft of a valve, on these shocks, on the regular riding. But when you hit something hard, they definitely dampen like they're supposed to. So I do have to give it to them for that. But this is an ongoing issue with my steering, and I never took it to the dealer because my theory on it was, well, first of all, nobody likes going to the dealer because they have your truck for like 3 days, and then all they did was look at it, because they're so busy. But I put these shocks on thinking my stock shocks were already blown because I read a lot of forums. I put the steering stabilizer on thinking that my steering stabilizer is blown because I read a lot of forums. It didn't help anything with my steering. I'm still tracking all over the place, and it's, it's just feels really loose, like an old truck. Rattles and clanks and bangs. I don't know what it is. So if anybody has these same issues with this year, so new with 7,000 miles on it, let me know. If it's a normal thing, then I just have to deal with it and whatever. But if it's not, maybe I should take it in and have Ford look at my ball joints, or at least the dealership look at the ball joints. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about this, and then I will upload another video on my rant about my off-road shop. All right, thanks guys. Later.